Hello, friends. I'm here with our weekly reading. And this week we see the Sagittarius new moon in early degrees of Sag. Some years back, as one of our creativities, we made these little quivers with arrows on a Sag new moon. And so I have placed this one here to help us to fire our intentions true. Brought in some chakra balancing, this beautiful, although it actually doesn't, you can't tell that it's a golden honey calcite in this image because of the lighting, but it is. Some zendocrine, really good for detoxing, but also hormone balancing as we move into this week. It's heavy on the geranium, which really helps on the emotional level as well. So this week the cards came out in a quite interesting way, and the same day as the new moon, which is Thursday, we have Jupiter station direct. So this whole week Jupiter, well, actually prior to this week and after this week, Jupiter's pretty much in one position, but we're really feeling it at its kind of pointy arrow end at the moment as he prepares to move forward again through those last few degrees of Pisces and back into Aries. And this new moon is, as I say, in Sagittarius. New moons are times to plant the seeds of intention and send them forth into the world. And as the cards jumped out, 3 jumped out. And then when I went to draw another one, I got 3. And as I was looking at those cards, it became apparent to me that the 3 that came out second were the cautions for the 3 that came out before. So we're going to read them like that. So you choose a number between 1 and 3, and then you'll get 2 cards. Whichever number you choose, you get 2 cards, one in its upright form and one upside down saying this is what needs to be watched out for. But also we look at it as a whole collective reading anyway. So we've got the high, and a lot of major arcana cards here. We've got the High Priestess, 3 of Swords, Queen of Pentacles. They jumped out, and my rainbows are forming in the prism of my crystal in the window at this time of day. It's so beautiful. So if you see rainbows on the floor, like on the Queen of Pentacles, that would be why. And then we have the caution cards that all came out upside down, all major arcana. The Fool, lining up with the High Priestess, and Death and Temperance, lining up Death, 3 of Swords, and Queen of Pentacles, Temperance. Now, Death and Temperance are 13, 14. So that's a like next step on a journey, literally. And here we have the 0 and the 2. So for me here, the High Priestess is all about, and of course this becomes the sort of anchor for all of us for this week, of heightened intuition. She sees without seeing. You can see her eyes are closed, but it's almost like she sees anyway. She is extremely intuitive and connected, and you can see the shadow on one side, the light on the other side, and the cosmos in between, and the stars above, and that deep connection to the energy above she's channeling as we see her here. And if we trust her intuition and that aspect within us, then it'll guide us true. The caution for this card is the 0, the Fool. Now, this is the first card of the major arcana, and this is the third card, number 2. So they're also very close together, but it's saying here, if you haven't completely surrendered to this new journey that you're on, then you're not going to trust your intuition, because you're going to believe that you're going to let your head or your ego or your stronger personality aspects override the inner knowing. And even in this Fool card, she has her eyes closed, but she doesn't yet have that inner vision that the High Priestess has. And she has to fall and surrender to the abyss. And the traditional Fool card packs his bag with just the tools that he needs to learn to use for the next part of his journey. So he's very selective. He doesn't just, take everything in the kitchen sink. He literally just has a satchel with a few things. And kind of starting with a clean slate, trusts the process and begins the journey. Upside down, there's a resistance to that. A few cards on in the journey, if all is going well, between 0, then the Magician, the Fool, the Magician, into the High Priestess, you're learning to trust your intuition. You're learning to channel that higher divine knowledge. So if this is particularly strong for you, if you chose card 1 today, and then your caution is to check that you are surrendering and that you're only taking with you that which you need at this point in your journey. You're not overcompensating by putting too much on your plate or avoiding your journey, whatever that is for you right now. It's important that you trust your intuition above your ego or your personality. So the second card, if you chose card number 2, is the Three of Swords. And you may remember we were getting this card quite a lot at one point this year. And this is literally the heartbreak card. It is the Swords suit, which is our minds. So if we come back to here, it's saying we need to trust our intuition, which is not really our thinking brain. But when we reach the Three of Swords, it's almost like we start to realize that our emotions, which is much more high priestess because your emotions are your intuitive guidance system, our emotions aren't separate from our thoughts. And it's in heartbreak or deep grief or loss experiences where we start to realize how we are physiologically, emotionally, and mentally impacted in a way that they're inextricable, those parts of ourselves. So this is a point where we really get to appreciate, in quite an unpleasant way usually, the power of our emotions, the power of our heart, and how physically we can feel heartbreak and grief and loss. And you can see that's the only sort of red part in the card. It's very vital. She is sort of gray. Everything around her is gray. There are no leaves on the trees. It's like you can feel her pain. And she's trying to stitch together her heart and rebuild. And the caution in this card, and look at the color follow through for the death card. See how beautiful and red there is. And actually, even in this one, you can see the color follow through of the greeny blue colors. But here, as we move from her caution, is the death card. And death, and in this deck, it's called Death and Rebirth. And I'm actually turning them as we go. So it's almost like this is the caution, so let's turn it around. And here you can see the big shadow sort of over him, which is also the scathe of death. But this is called Death Rebirth in this deck. And for me, that is always what death represents. And even though he's wearing this red shroud, red is kind of rooting you to the earth. And if you look through into his face, you see the new beginning. You see the light. You see the growth. And that's actually what the death is indicating to us. But we can't step into it fully. This becomes the challenge if we don't, again, kind of just like the Fool card, surrender and release whatever the loss is, whatever the grief is. If you haven't been able to get over a loss of a relationship or a loss of a business or whatever it was, if you haven't been able to get over the trauma of COVID, this is what it's saying. It's time to get over it, because until you do, you're not going to step into the rebirth. You're just in that sort of looping. You're stuck in a loop of death and not being reborn. So if you have chosen card number 2, or even if you just know that you've really been struggling to get over something, that's the key to healing, to being able to get that heart back together again, is to accept that something is gone. Let it go. Cut off the bad wood and be reborn. And if you chose card number 3, we're looking at the Queen of Pentacles. She is a really fantastic card. She's a kind of a wiser, feminine, older aspect, very grounded, often looking at your earth signs. She is able to very easily materialize and build and structure and plan and organize and manifest what she desires. And remember that new moon is that seed planting time. So she didn't get that done overnight. She planted a seed, and then she planted another, and then she planted a garden, and then she planted a forest. And over time, cultivating, caring, weeding, fertilizing, watering, and so on, she got what she wanted. So if you've chosen card number 3, it's very much a point of going, okay, once you've gotten over that other stuff, now you're ready to build. Of course, I'm speaking to them individually, but remember, it is a whole story. Trust your intuition, release your grief, build your future. That's key words of this. You're being held back if you are not surrendering to learning a new way, because the Fool is the beginning of a journey, to letting the old die so that the new can be reborn. And in the case of the Queen of Pentacles, her biggest challenge coming up for you is the Temperance card upside down. And he is this wonderful divine angelic energy. You can see he holds a sun and a moon. And there is a bit of an infinity type symbol going on here, which you'll also see over there in the death card. And this is about us really experiencing the balance between the yin, the yang, the day, the night, the masculine, the feminine. Now, she is more feminine, and that's not gender, that's the feminine aspect within you. Yes, if you are female, you may feel that acting out more strongly, and if you are a male, you may feel that acting out more strongly within the female relationships in your life. But ultimately, it's all happening internally, as I say in most readings. So the Temperance card is how do I find that balance? Because the potential problem for the rebuild and for this really positive potentiality of the Queen of Pentacles is if you're out of alignment. You need to have both the masculine and feminine aspects within yourself. You need to have the somewhat creative, chaotic, sensitive holding space of the feminine, and then like the grand design, and then you need to have the yang masculine aspect that says, this is what I want, this is the steps I'm taking to get it, and the go and get it done kind of masculine energy. Because if you get stuck in the swirling pools of the feminine and aren't able to actualize, take action on, then nothing's going to happen. So this is saying if you get stuck in either the feminine or the masculine, especially if you drew this selection, number 3, then you are going to miss the mark. So it's important for you to keep doing the work. And you can also look at Temperance as doing the shadow work, because you have to balance the shadow and light within you. You have to balance above and below, within and without, past and future, by being in the present moment and doing the work. So really, I love how this Temperance cards come up as the Queen of Pentacles balancing card to give support to where you may have trouble, because this is kind of, it feels like the higher grade. Like, fine, once you've done all this loss, you're now stepping into a new classroom. This is not lower grade. This is just hard letting go of. And just like it was hard to leave pre-primary to step into big school, and then hard to leave junior primary to step into high school or whatever your schooling system is, and then into university, and then out of that into life, whatever it is, the trajectory that you took in your life or are taking at this moment in your life. Each time we leave something behind, we are the big fish in a certain pond, and then it gets too small for us, and then we have to leave that behind and get into a big pond where we're a small fish and we don't know what we're doing. And this whole weekly reading is speaking to that. And when we get to the end here with the Queen of Pentacles and the Temperance card, it's saying, right, well, you may well be the small fish, but you're now ready to start doing the work to grow in this pool, as long as you've let go of certain things that you had to leave behind. So I hope this weekly reading is supportive for you. I wish you a lot of love and luck through that new moon portal. New moons are always really, really powerful. This is when I hold red tent gatherings, and that is for women. The red tent gatherings, I have a global group, so it doesn't matter where in the world you live. And this is a really wonderful opportunity to connect collectively and also to understand the energy you're working within, to set intentions that are more potentized because you're working within the correct energy of the moment. So if you're interested in getting involved in that, or you're interested in a personal reading, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You'll find my details in the link below. Have a wonderful week.